Hey everybody, I'm Mama Baird and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 5 different meals that I have made over the week for my family of 5. Now this is 1 breakfast and 4 dinners. All of this is things that I have in my pantry, all under 30 minutes. So let's get into the video and let's see what I whip up. If you're new to the channel, my name is Carolina. I live in Montana. Please go ahead and give me a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Every like, comment, share really helps support me and my channel. Thank you so much, guys. Sometimes the best meals come from just throwing together whatever you have in your fridge. So let's get into the kitchen and let's see what I make. First, we're starting off with some cottage cheese pancakes. For these pancakes, I'm going to try them 2 different ways. I'm going to leave the cottage cheese lumpy, and then the second way I'm going to puree it. So right now we got eggs and cottage cheese. I'm going to add a splash of vanilla. We are going to get this all mixed up. If you don't want the lumps in it, this would be the part that you would use like your immersion blender or something like that to get that all mixed up. And now we're going to add our dry ingredients. So it's going to be flour, brown sugar, and baking powder. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt as well. So I'll get that mixed up. I'm going to be using my flat top grill here. I love this Vever grill. I can leave the review of it down below if you're interested in it. I use this for grilled cheese, pancakes, making fajita night. So it's a great little handy gadget to have. You just plug it in an electric grill. It's portable. You can take it anywhere with you. So now that our pancake mix is all done, I'm going to oil my grill. This is some olive oil that I just put on there, and then I'm going to scoop the pancakes. This is probably a 1 ounce ladle, and it works really well at making the perfect size pancakes. I do about 4 at a time. They say that with the cottage cheese, this is my first time trying it, that leaving them in there, when it melts, it makes like gooiness. Now when it comes to the pancakes, you want to flip it once all the bubbles start popping. That means all the moisture from the inside of the pancake, for example, the raw batter, all that moisture from the batter is evaporating, thus cooking it. So that's how you know the inside of it is cooked, when all those bubbles have stopped popping, and it's go ahead and flip it. You're going to let it cook just for a couple more minutes on this side. These didn't get too poofy, so I think adding maybe some extra baking powder if you like extra thick ones in there. And then there's little specks of brown sugar in there as well, and this was really good. I'm going to be using honey instead of pancake syrup. So let's give this a try. I really enjoyed the meltiness of the whole cottage cheese in there. Husband didn't like it too much, but he doesn't really like texture stuff in pancakes. He's kind of picky about that. But I really liked that. I liked that it had like little pockets of cheese that melted. It was my first time trying that. And this is a high protein pancake because it's mostly eggs and then the cottage cheese in there. So it's a pretty low carb. You could probably use a different type of low carb flour as well, and they would make these low carb friendly. So I'm just going to go ahead and puree this batch just to get it mixed up and try it without the lumps and see if that makes a difference. So we're adding, after it, we add the flour, baking powder, brown sugar, and a little bit of salt. And I'm just going to keep using my immersion blender to mix it up since it happens to be in there. So that way the cheese is blended and it's not going to have pockets of cheese anymore. It's just going to be a smooth texture. So once that is done, I seasoned my grill again with more oil, and then we're going to do the same thing. I would probably have added a little more flour to this batch looking back at it, because looking back at it, I can tell that the pancakes are kind of flat. Sorry, it just made me think of a song. So I would add a little more flour and baking powder to these to kind of make them a little thicker. And that was the texture of them when they were done. I broke it apart there, and it wasn't bad. I like the whole cottage cheese better. That is something that I would suggest. Now once these got flipped, they did poof up a bit, but once they got taken off the heat, they kind of deflated more. So that's why I said I would have added a little more to it. They were really good and not too bad. Like, I would try them again, just with the lumpy cheese, in my opinion, was much better. So what did you guys think of those pancakes? Have you ever tried cottage cheese pancakes? Or what are some things that you put cottage cheese in that's kind of different? Like, I only think of really lasagna, and then now I've tried these pancakes, so give me some more ideas on what I can use more cottage cheese with. Go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. All right, now for our first dinner, I have a can of condensed French onion soup and some pork chops. So those are the items of choice that I'm looking to use up. Plus I have some egg noodles, so let's see what I come up with. For this pork dinner, I have these little flat pork steaks that I got, or pork chops I guess I got from the food bank. So I have some salt and pepper on one side, and then I'm putting the seasoned side down into a pan with a little bit of oil. Now I know my stove is a mess, my kitchen is a mess. You know, this is a cooking channel, not a cleaning channel. You're gonna have to go to another channel. You wanna know how to keep your kitchen clean. I'm here to teach you how to dirty it up. So we're going to add some seasoning to this. We have garlic powder and paprika. And then we are going to give it a flip. You can see that nice brown. It's got a good sear color to it. And then we're going to add some of the garlic powder and paprika to this side as well. And then I'm going to add a splash of Who's Your Sister sauce to it too. And then a can of French onion soup mix. So you just kind of want to sear your pork, and then it'll cook more as it simmers in with the French onion soup mix. And I put a splash of water in there just to kind of rinse the can out, plus kind of dilute it because that was a concentrated soup. I'm gonna salt this water. I have these little things of salt I'm working through. One time at the food bank they said take a handful of salt packets and pepper packets, so that's what I'm working on. And then we're going to cook these grandma's frozen egg noodles. Put them in just like that, and then they cook for roughly 12 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna set an 8-minute timer because once that goes off, we're gonna add some broccoli to this and kind of cook the broccoli and the pasta at the same time. All right, you can kind of see how this is really thickened up. So we're gonna leave that as is. Hoping to make those pork tender. Might have to dice them up. I'm gonna add a little bit of our starchy pasta water. There we go. We want it to have enough sauce for everybody, plus for it to thicken up some. Now that the pork chops and the sauce have been cooking for a little bit, we are going to go ahead and pull them out, and then we are going to doctor up this sauce a little bit because we want it to go well over our noodles. So we're going to add some half and half, and that's going to, one, kind of thin it out because again, that's a lot of concentration in there. So we're going to add that to kind of make a nice creamy sauce to go with it, and we're going to let that simmer a bit on the stove. And while that's simmering, I'm going to go ahead and small dice these pork chops. They were cooked, but they're still like a little tough to just sit there and cut with a fork and a knife, and I thought it'd be easier if I pre-cut it. While I'm cutting the pork, the sauce is over here simmering away, and then I tasted it. It needs a little salt and a little pepper, and that's all it took because a lot of it had a lot of good flavor in there. Now we're going to add our cooked egg noodles and toss it with the sauce. You could keep this to the side if you're one of those where you like to have the noodles and then put everything on top of it. We like to mix it all up, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to put the pork on top and serve it that way. I did decide to cook the broccoli separate. I just put it in a bowl with some butter, salt and pepper, saran wrapped it, threw it in the microwave, 5 minutes. She done. This is just fresh broccoli. Yeah, so that's what we're having for dinner. Let's give it a try. It's really good. The noodles are thick. I'm gonna add some Parmesan cheese to the top of it. Why not? And that's what we're having for dinner tonight. I really liked that pork pasta. It kind of reminds me of a stroganoff, and that's something that you can add if you don't have half and half. You could add another type of dairy product, so heavy whipping cream, sour cream. You could even add cream cheese to pasta. That goes really well to help melt it and make a creamy kind of base, you know. All right, so now that we have that dish done, the next thing is going to be a chicken Mediterranean pasta. Kind of in a pasta mood lately. Now this one is a little complex. It has a couple of ingredients, but it is so worth it. The combination is delicious, and you'll definitely be going back for a second bowl. All right, so let's get in here and let's check out how I make this pasta. For this Mediterranean style chicken pasta, I have this seasoned chicken thigh container that I got for, I think it was $4 with the coupon, and it's just Montreal seasoned chicken thighs, boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And then I have some sun-dried tomatoes I need to get out of my fridge, some artichoke hearts. I'm going to be cooking up some mushrooms and some onions, and then I have olives and capers as well. So I'm going to start here with some of my garlic olive oil. As soon as this hits the pan, the smell is just amazing. So that's where my garlic is going to come in, from the olive oil. And we're going to get that coated, and we're going to get the chicken seared. Once I got it, whenever you lay chicken, you want to kind of lay it away from you, so that way if it does splatter, it's not going to splatter on you. You don't want to overcrowd your pan, but I would like trying to get the chicken cooked all in once. So I'm going to make sure all the surfaces are covered, but nothing's like overlapping or anything, because you don't want it to steam, you want it to sear. And if you have too much in there, then it will just steam in its own juices, if that makes sense. So I'm going to add some more seasoning to this because I just don't feel like that's enough. So I'm going to sprinkle some of my house mix, which has garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and pepper, and then I'm going to sprinkle salt on there as well. I recently just got a splatter screen I got for $10 on Facebook Marketplace. I am so happy with it. I didn't even know how much I needed a splatter screen until I have it. And I was like, yes, maybe this will help keep my stove clean. So maybe I do have a cleaning tip after all to keep it. Use a splatter screen. So after this has been cooking for a couple of minutes, I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Now you can see how much color this doesn't have by just having that Montreal seasoning on it. So once this other side cooks and we'll flip it, you'll see how much more colorful it is just by having that paprika. I really suggest you have paprika in your spice cabinet. It makes a huge difference in all of your cooking, and it gives it so much good golden flavor. A good golden color and also a great flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the other side with that seasoning, and I am glad that I re-seasoned that a little more because afterwards it was delicious. We're going to go ahead and get this flipped over. The chicken looks good, so let's get this out of the pan. I am going to use this pan for everything, but I'm going to do some batch cooking. So right now the chicken's out, and you see all these little crusties down there. I'm pouring out the extra juices. Now all this is really good stuff. You want to keep this. That's a lot of good seasoned crusty flavor. So we're going to pour some chicken stock in this. You can also just use water if that's what you have, or wine would be a good deglazer as well. We are going to grab a whisk, and then we are going to get all of the brown crispies down from the pan. That is what's going to save a lot of flavor for your pasta sauce later. Now I'm going to reuse the same pan, add some more garlic oil. I wanted to show you that with these artichokes, they are from Best Buy October of 21, and they are still good. Open them up, they are still good, so don't be afraid of Best Buy dates. Now I'm going to be cooking the onions and the mushrooms in that garlic oil. We're going to give it a toss, and then we're going to add some salt and some pepper to this. I'm going to use the last bit of my sun-dried tomatoes, and then I have some spicy olives I'm going to add. And this is mostly just going to be for me and husband. The kids, this is way too many ingredients and too kind of complex for the kids, but it's going to be great for husband and I. And then with this pan, the mushrooms and onions are out. It's got more stuff on the bottom there, more flavor. I'm going to pour the chicken stock that we saved to deglaze the other pan back in there, and we're going to use the same liquid to deglaze this pan to get all that other good crusty stuff up and into our sauce. And now we're going to use this as the base for our pasta sauce. We're going to add some half and half, and that's what's going to make it a super creamy sauce. It's going to thicken it up. And again, if half and half doesn't thicken it up enough for you, you can always add a cornstarch slurry or make a roux beforehand. Now with the chicken, I'm just going to use my kitchen shears, and I'm just going to kind of cut pieces of it so it's easier just to mix in with the pasta. Alright, this is starting to come up a little bit, so we're going to reduce the heat because we don't want it to curdle. The chances of it curdling are less because I used half and half. If you use a lower fat content milk, that can cause it to curdle a lot faster on you if you have curdling happen to you. Alright, so we're just going to let this slowly thicken. I am going to make a bit of a slurry from my leftover, some chicken stock here. And just like a couple of tablespoons of cornstarch, maybe like one. Because I want it to thicken up a little bit. The half and half will do that, but the cornstarch will guarantee that it will. Give that a stir. You want to make sure this is all dissolved in like a cold liquid, or you could take some of the liquid from here. You just want to make sure it's mixed in completely before you add it, or else it can clump up on you. No one likes a clumpy pasta. And then usually as soon as it starts heating up, it'll thicken up on you. Like I can feel it. Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs? Alright, that's gonna thicken up. Let's add all of our stuff. I gotta eat another piece of chicken. This was good. Chicken. Artichoke hearts. Sun-dried tomatoes, capers. I'm just gonna use all these. I love capers. And that gets 2 jars out of my fridge. And then some olives. Gonna give one a try for good measure. All right. You guys, this looks so good. Not gonna lie. Oh, I should have tasted the seasoning of the sauce before I put everything in. Well, that's okay. I mean, this is also gonna flavor the sauce, everything I put in, so I guess I'm just... Okay, we definitely want to taste it though before we put it on the pasta. Wow, that tastes great. Only thing, just a smidgen of salt because we put that half and half in there, plus the artichokes that didn't have any salt. But other than that, this was perfect. That flavor is spot on. Pan might be a little small, don't judge me. And then as this cools, it'll thicken up as well too. Oh, you guys, you gotta give this a try. Now this is pretty much a clean out pasta, but it's, you know, a little Mediterranean, but the half and half, you know, adds a little bit of extra fat to it. Ooh, let me get a keeper in there. Oh yeah. Now it's too salty. Oh, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Let it cool, and then we'll put it over our pasta. All right, I got some egg noodles here. Let's get one of these chickens on there. Oh, that looks so good, you guys. Oh, and I had everything in my pantry to make it. I love it when that happens. Oh, that smells so good. All right, let's give it a try. Don't mind the kids screaming in the background. Oh, nope, get back here. I need that. Oh, that was good. I love capers so much. If you haven't tried them, they're like a pickled flower bud. They are really good. They're kind of like a burst of saltiness. Kind of like olives. They go well in pastas with lemon. This is more an adult pasta than for the children. What a shame. I would probably pre-cut the chicken just to make it easier to eat. Now this budget-friendly, delicious dinner. Don't mind me. With that pasta, it heated up really well the next day too. So if you make something that you're kind of just making for yourself, maybe you can prep yourself some lunch throughout the week. So making something like that and then storing it in different containers and then heating up for lunch is a good way to kind of meal prep and be able to make yourself something fancy if it's something that the kids don't quite like, you know. All right, now for this next dinner, I kind of make a spin on a broccoli casserole. I have a couple of different types of protein that I need to get used up, and then I have some fresh broccoli that really needs to get used up, and all I have to do is cook up some rice. Everything else is straight from my pantry. So let's go check out how I make this broccoli rice casserole. For this broccoli casserole, I have some leftover seasoned taco meat that I need to get used up. Plus, I have cooked some chorizo that I didn't have a plan for. I just needed to get it cooked up. So I'm going to add that to it. And then I have this bag of broccoli I got from the food bank, and it needs to get used up within today or tomorrow. It's starting to get yellow and brown on the tips of the florets. So I'm just going to go ahead and break those up with my hand. You can also use frozen broccoli. That would be fine. I'm going to add 1 can of cream of mushroom, and then I have a broccoli and cheese cream, like condensed soup, so I figured that would be perfect here with the broccoli. This is a good casserole if you just have like a cream of weird that you need to add, like that broccoli and cheese. And then I'm going to add some sour cream to this, and then I have this Italian blend cheese. This isn't kind of a recipe or anything, this is just using what I have on hand. I am going to add some of my house seasoning to that. And then once I started mixing that up, I realized that it is a little thick, and with the condensed soups, you do want to add some liquid because you want the rice to be able to absorb some of this as well. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of 2% milk just because that's what I have on hand. That was probably half a cup, maybe one of those cans worth. And now I'm going to add my rice. I cooked it in my Instant Pot. That is my favorite way to cook rice now. So I'm going to add probably about 4 cups of cooked rice. This leftover rice works just fine. Mine just happens to be cooked. If you haven't cooked rice in the Instant Pot, I highly suggest it. You cook equal parts rice to liquid, cook it for 3 minutes, and then let it natural release for 10 minutes. And there you go, perfect rice every time. I don't think I rinsed that rice either. So now I'm just going to mix it up in here. You can mix all this up in a separate bowl if you'd like, but you know, I just find it works easier just doing it in the pan if you can. That rhymed. So we're going to get this mixed up. Within it, I'm going to see if it needs any more liquid or anything as I'm mixing it, but it looked pretty creamy. So I'm going to get it all nice and flat, and then we're going to put a little more cheese on top. I did a little more of the Italian blend that I had. I think I had 2 bags of them, so we're going to put some of that on top. Cheddar cheese would also be great in this as well. So just, you know, whatever you have on hand kind of ingredient casserole. This baked at 350 degrees for 40 minutes. And now this was really good. The broccoli, I would probably either steam a little bit in the microwave because they were still a little crunchy, but they were really good, and I don't mind crunchy broccoli, and the kids really like broccoli too. So this was kind of a win-win. The chorizo wasn't too spicy, and this also heated up really well for leftovers the next day. That was almost like what I call a refrigerator casserole because I'm just taking stuff out of the fridge that needs to get used up. I always have a big thing of sour cream on hand because that can go really well in cakes, casseroles, pasta, like pasta sauces. It does good in baking, so it's always good to have sour cream on hand, and it's relatively cheap as well. Now for this last dinner, it's pizza night. I have a couple of mini pizza crusts that I need to get used up, and then I'm going to take some sourdough bread. This is like dough that they sell whole that you can make your own sourdough loaf, but I'm turning it into a pizza crust. So let's get into the kitchen and let's see how that works out. Hey everybody, we are having pizza night tonight. I've got these thin, ready to use pizza crusts. So this is a 3-pack. So I'm gonna make the kids their own personal pizza. And then I have this thing. It's actually sourdough. Like you can make a big sourdough bread, but I'm gonna use it to make pizza dough. So we're gonna use this to make 2 small pizzas. And then I got some pizza sauce, Parmesan, pizza cheese, pepperoni, and some bacon crumbles. And that's all we're doing. So let's get to cooking. I'm using my Vever pizza oven as well. This thing's awesome, so we're going to be using that. It takes less sauce than you think because you don't want it too saucy. Once it heats up, it gets more liquidy. Alright, we got a cheese one for my daughter. A bacon pizza for my son. And then bacon. Pepperoni always goes on top of the cheese if you're doing pepperonis. Put our pepperoni. Then a little more cheese. And now I'm gonna sprinkle some Parmesan on there as well. Alright, now we're gonna wait for our pizza oven to heat up. Alright. Two minutes too much.
Can you text me the story?
Good thing the kids don't eat the crust anyway. What do you mean?
Smell it.
Yeah, the kids' pizza. Whew, I need that fan. I thought 2 more minutes, but nope. Probably 1 more minute would have done it. That's not too bad though. Oh wait, no, that one turned out a little better. I'm going to use one of my silicone mats as a base here to make my pizza. I'm going to put some all-purpose flour both on the mat and then on my hands as well, because that's what I'm going to use to kind of separate the dough into 2 different portions, as well as use it to shape it round into the pizza. So you want to make sure that it's all floured because you don't want anything to stick. The flour will also work its way into the dough as well, so you don't have to worry about that. I don't know if this is going to work because it is meant to be sourdough bread. It is not a pizza dough recipe. So they sell pizza dough at the store and then they sell sourdough. So this is the sourdough loaf because they were out of the pizza. And I was like, you know what, it might work. I don't know if I was planning on baking a loaf with it or what, but I decided to give it a try. As the pizza, it did get a little thin and it wasn't, so it fell apart a lot and tore instead of being stretchy. So that's kind of why it didn't work too well as a pizza dough, but I just kind of got it as flat as I could and then was going around the edges, pulling the thick parts that were at the end and kind of trying to stretch that a bit, maybe pull some to the center there to cover any holes in there. But I wasn't too worried about any tears or anything. It's just kind of pinching it together because it'll all bake in together. So once I got that to the thickness that I wanted, I want to make sure that there's plenty of flour under the bread because I'm going to slide it off of the mat and put it onto that cooking rack. So I want to make sure that it does not stick to the bottom of this pan. So that's why I'm putting bread on the bottom and then just kind of pushing it around to make sure that it's flat enough. So now we're going to add our pizza sauce. This is just canned pizza sauce I'm using for this. You don't want to use too much and you just want to spread it pretty thin. Make sure you're leaving areas for the crust so you don't want it to go too far. And then usually you would put your toppings down and then your cheese, but we're doing pepperoni here. So with pepperoni it always goes better on top. So we're going to put the cheese down, and then we're putting our bacon, and then we're going to put sliced pepperoni. This is just pepperoni that I got for a discount at Walmart, like in the deli section. Sometimes they have reduced lunch meat there, and so they had a big bag of pepperoni. So I was a big score on grabbing that. And now I'm just going to put a little more cheese on top, not enough to completely cover it, but enough so it melts and gets some nice texture to it. All right, so now I had to call husband over to try and get this in the oven. Without touching the thing, I'm gonna burn my hand. Good job. Let's see how that goes. Woo. All right, our pizza came out. It looks pretty good. See some of the, it's a bit full party. I took some of this garlic oil and I just spread it around the crust, so it's kind of got like a garlicky crust to it. That's pretty good. The garlic. It's definitely been a minute since I messed with some pizza dough, but it was really good and I want to do that again. I'm probably going to start making some homemade pizza dough though, because it's relatively easy and cheap and a lot better than buying it at the store. Well, thanks for coming along and checking out what I make for my family on your everyday night, meals that are under 30 minutes and everything that's included in your pantry. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time on Mama Bears.